folks, and welcome to another edition of the Pilot Review RP event. I am Captain Blade J52, and I am joined by my merry cohorts. We have my fellow character and fellow player who will be reprising his role as Captain Torrance, aka the Timberwolf.
How's it going, guys?
And we have our game master for this event, as always, our resident RP hologram, Artie.
Hello.
So, quick disclaimer before I hand this off to our GM to fill you guys in on what's going on. My internet has been kind of shaky these past few days. I'm assuming they've been working in the area. I can't swear to it 100%. If for some reason my internet does go down while we're doing this, I'm going to try to get it back up. If I can't get it back up, then we'll kind of plan from there. But just wanted to let you guys know ahead of time. Anyways, folks, I'm now going to hand this over to our GM.
Okay, so I shall do a little recap before we just jump straight in. From last game, you guys may remember we finished off the big battle at Starbase 37. We had both Admiral Cruzan and Captain Torrance, as well as the full might of the 15th Fleet, as well as the Romulans support group that was at Starbase 37. Take out quite a few numbers of these unknown ships, varying from different sizes and whatnot. But not only did they fend them off quite well, they did take quite a few damages along their ships. Taking out the large enemy dreadnought, they also sadly lost their position at Starbase 37, being forced to retreat due to the severe damages of the fleet as well as to the starbase. With that, we seem to have given a critical blow to the enemy's front by holding that little corner there. Blade, if you could pull up the map for me. From what we can tell, as the part of the recap, the enemy, moved up, was taken Starbase 37. But due to the savage nature of our miraculous defense, they have not occupied that section of space yet. That's a good thing. But we did move back. We had Captain Torrance and his group move back to Deep Space 13, while Cruzan and the Romulans moved back to K7. But to add on to this, we were being reinforced by the Klingons. While the battle at Starbase 37 was happening, more of these unknown ship fleets moved out towards Drozana Station, Nukara, Forcus, and what happened was that at Drozana, the Klingons moved out from Granada, came head-to-head, and was able to give one hell of a pounding, but were sadly forced to retreat due to more of these super dreadnoughts with these solar cannons and miraculous doomsday weapons. Being able to just wipe out ships in mere seconds. Drozana has fallen, is now currently being occupied, while it's also still in shambles worse than it already was, as well as a few smaller star systems around Drozana. At Forcus, the defenses were not suitable enough to even hold back at least a third of the first wave, and fell almost immediately. While at Nukara, the battle still seems to be going as our faithful heroes here have been retreated back to their lines. The Tholians seem to be holding their ground for the most part. The battle may still be going now, and we will get into that as the episode here goes. So that is more or less our update on nearby space. Anything else that will be added will be for intelligence for the moment, but now we'll jump into the mission now. So both of you guys have retreated back. Your ships have been more or less in shambles, and both receive of our current ship losses, wounded, and how many we've lost in the current run at the moment. Your current numbers from just the losses at Starbase 37. You've lost 75 Federation ships, as well as 15 Romulan ships. with another 80 heavily damaged, another 80 Federation ships heavily damaged, and another 15 mildly damaged. The Romulans seem to be faring a little bit better with only 35 ships heavy to mid-range damaged, and only about 12 ships still active. So that leaves us with the Klingons supporting. You now have at least, let's see, Federation has 80 ships serviceable, Klingons have 125, and the Romulans currently have 12. And that's not counting the group from Starbase Lunsford. That's just with the groups at Deep Space 13 and K7. So, yeah, we've lost quite a few guys. We're now up into the hundreds of thousands of people dead currently. We don't even know the casualties on the enemy side. But, yeah, wonderful first report.
Cruisin', I never like these reports.
They're definitely not to be good.
The loss of life. I mean, we haven't seen numbers like this since the Iconian War.
Even before I joined up with you guys, some of the, not even any of our wars were this insane.
Right now, the Romulans are going to need reinforcements. Need to see, well, I know they're worried about protecting their space. They do have several outlying fleets they can move up. But for right now, if they're wanting to, since they've now seen the devastation that we can cause, or the enemy can cause, they are going to need reinforcements. They are going to want to fight this war because they're not more active in this battle. They could easily get to New Romulus, and that's the last thing they'd want. We need to see if they can move their fleet that's near Virinat and the fleet that's right above. Let's see here. They've got a secondary fleet that's near Brea. We need to see if we can move those two Romulan fleets. We don't want to move a whole lot because we don't want them to think that we're making them vulnerable. But if they can move one of the fleets from the Brea Unroth sector and the one that's below Virinat, we can move some of their resources forward to at least the Kasei sector. They'll be within striking distance in case that this enemy moves forward again. We need the Romulans more involved. I don't think they're going to have too much of a qualm with that. Do you agree, Cruzan?
Aye, Captain Torrance, indeed I do. I believe that we've got to hold these battle lines. We cannot allow them to get any farther into the quadrant, or we're going to see some major loss of life, even worse than we already have.
Which, we'll go ahead and put a communique out to them, see if we can move them up. And there's also several Klingon forces. The Klingons are always hungry for a fight. They give them a pretty good pasting at Drozana before it fell. It looks like most of your fleet, before I was able to transwarp beam over this station, it looks like they had to leave Drozana, but they give them a pasting. But they've got several outlying fleets we need to move forward. Because I'd be willing to bet they'll hunger for a fight. There's looks like 3 fleets. They're all near Navak in the Gorath system. We should be able to move them up to protect Kronos while we move a few fleets in the, and forgive my Klingon, it's a little rusty, but the T-Jiruch sector, right below the Tong Nebula. They've got 2 fleets there that are probably hankering for a fight. We can move them up to Grinalda at the very least. They're probably chomping at the bit, ready for the next offensive.
I guarantee they want some war. I know they probably want to revenge the comrades that fell at Drozana Station.
I'm sure there are songs sung. And I bet there's blood wine to be had, which, after that last conflict, we gave as good as we got. And then some. My ship's probably mostly repaired at this point. I haven't checked on her in the past 2 days. Just because it was an absolute wreck when Captain Spoon helped me get her to K-13. But I think I'm scheduled to meet with the Klingon Chancellor and some of the high commanders, share about a bottle of blood wine for the fallen warriors. But how are things going on your side? Have you been able to talk with your people about the dark matter technology research?
Blade, I would like you to roll a d20.
That would be a 15.
Okay. So for talking about your people about the dark matter, they've seen the scans and all the sensor logs that you've been able to pass along to them, and they seem wondrously impressed at the use of their dark matter engines and weapons. What they can tell, they could probably try to reverse engineer a way of defending against such weapons, as well as to try to just do a wave disable of it. But they would need at least a functioning dark matter generator from one of their enemy vessels. That would be the most difficult thing to get. But besides that, if they have a working generator, they should be able to come up with a good defense. Fairly simple.
My people have been going over the logs we sent them. I believe we can do it. I have to admit, whenever the scientist back at home finally got the logs, he about fell out of his seat from what he was seeing. Now that we realize it is possible to do these things, we're hoping we can ramp it up, but to defend against this particular use of dark matter, we would need a sample of the technology. Perhaps one of the enemy ships can be salvaged.
Potentially. It does look like they've kind of left Starbase 37 alone since that engagement. They really haven't moved their fleet in to recover any of their derelicts. They kind of left us alone, and we've been pulling hulks away from it. We can probably contact members of each of our fleets and see if while they're at it, if they can kind of pluck intact pieces of their starships and get them back to K7 for analysis. Might be our best chance to help your people on their research.
Indeed, I hope we can also find one of those ships that has one of those cannons, or at least what's left of one, so we can get some idea of how that thing works.
Indeed. Not fond of having holes in my starship after a battle. Most interesting thing, though, have you seen the reports out of Nukara?
The Tholians were still holding their lines. Perhaps we might now be a good time to send an envoy.
Absolutely. They're holding their own, and they see Nukara as their property. Granted, we've been fighting them for a while because of what's underneath the surface, but this might be an opportunity to make a deal that helps us both.
The technology from that ship, it's old. We've gotten better. I believe, sir, if I contact them, and I offer them the deal, it'd be one time only. We let them have the planet. We let them have whatever's there. In exchange, they help us hold the line and perhaps beat back these aggressors. Because I'm sure they're going to want to get even with these guys for attacking them just as much as we do.
You know, we'll have to clear that with the Admiralty, but I don't think they're going to have much of a problem with that considering what happened to Starbase 37. And that is an old Mark I Odyssey class underground, but it's from the Mirror Universe. So, if they get their hands on Mirror Universe tech, it's significantly behind us at this point. It will not matter. So, we just gotta clear it with the Admiral here. He can clear it with Starfleet Command for us. That shouldn't be a problem, I don't think. Last thing we want to do now is have a war on two fronts, one with the Admiralty.
There be a few people that still owe me a couple of favors that I can be calling in for this.
Oh, good sir. I will let you handle that. Hopefully you can finesse the situation. Got my own finessing I've got to do with Starfleet intelligence.
Indeed, how be I need the efforts to get that cloaking device ready for your ship.
I've yet to get through to him yet, as far as right now. One good thing, thanks to Captain Spoon's support, while we're repairing the Wolf Knight, we were able to get upgrades to the armor and hull up to Vengeance standards, as he's calling it. So I've got a much stronger hull layer on the outside and hull armor that's going to hold up a lot better towards energy types, but more importantly towards those kinetic and dark matter weapons. Seems like his hull held up a little bit better than mine. So armor has not been an issue. It's going to make my ship a very, very dark gray and black, which to me is just cool. But the cloaking device, so far they haven't responded. I'm hoping I can get through to them here in the next hour. I have an idea, and I think the Romulans would be highly intrigued by it. More importantly, it would help bring their forces closer to being fully involved in this effort. I just gotta clear everything through intelligence first. And, Game Master.
Yes.
Admiral Artie, I need an update on the Minos Corva sector, because we've got a lot of fleets moving in that direction, and the last we heard, we did have this enemy there. Not sure about their fleet movements after the fact, though. We haven't gotten any updated reports.
Okay, so as intelligence, your current intelligence of that sector goes, Minos Corva held significantly well. Only minor losses along their unmanned defense stations and a few ships here and there. Nothing too major. There was slight damage to the shipyards there, but nothing too grand. As well as the massive fleets coming in to support Minos Corva. It seems like the enemy knew that they would be overrun almost immediately if they stayed there any longer. So before letting the Federation fleets just appear right on top of them, they left and reformed their group at the Betreka Nebula. And so Minos Corva is holding, but from what we can tell, all the allied fleets there are just going to currently hold Minos Corva and prepare for another push if we need it. We have no idea what the enemy is doing in the Betreka Nebula. They seem to just be waiting there. So that's what we can tell at the moment. Luckily enough, the Dominion fleet that's been sitting at D Space Nine's actually communicated to one of the admirals in the Minos Corva defense and said that they could attempt to contact the Dominion themselves and bring in allied forces if the battle goes to be less in our favor. But at this moment, they only have the one fleet of 150 ships. They may get at least another 200 to 300 more by the end of the week.
Well, I would say that I want to go ahead and contact that fleet commander, the Jim Hadar. Go ahead and have them contact Dominion. And just see if they're able to bring further assistance through the wormhole. I know that they've been dealing with a lot of stuff recently with the Zenkethi and the Herc, and they're dealing with their own crisis now, but any help is good help. Just to see if they can spare some starships.
Alright. Yep. Alright, could roll me a d20 just for shenanigans' sake. I'd like it hit the floor.
Nope, it hit my mouse pad. 18.
Okay. So,
Interesting.
The Vorta that's currently leading that Dominion fleet can agree that they'll contact Dominion leadership as soon as possible and see what they can bring in. They may get a little bit more due to what they've seen through their own reports. And seeing our defenses at Minos Corva, they may actually bring more relief aid as well, along with actual Jem'Hadar warships. So, but
I'd like
it would
to-
still be by the end of the week.
I'd like to also offer to the Vorta that whatever help is appreciated, and for that added help, we will share any intelligence on enemy technology we can with them.
He agrees. He'll happily support this endeavor, obviously for the Founders.
Of course, always for the Founders. Now, one thing I'd like to see, I would like to contact Cardassian leadership. Now, obviously, they don't have huge fleet strength, obviously, but they do have a few outlying fleets that are not directly guarding Cardassia. I'd like to see if they can move those forward in a relief effort, mainly to defend Cardassia, Bajor, and Deep Space Nine, kind of a defense line. Because if they get through the most of our fleets there in Minas Corva and Trill and all that, they'd have to go through DS9 to get to Cardassia. It would be in their best interest to help us, at least in a defensive posture, if a worst-case scenario happens.
Alright.
And what I'd like to propose is the fleet that's in the Arawath sector and the 2 fleets that are in the Algira sector. Move them forward for defense in the Bajor and Dubhi sectors.
Hey, could you roll me another d20, please?
Alright. Let me get the luck of the draw. And I flatlined at a 10.
Okay. So your call has actually been redirected from calling the head of the Cardassian government and central group to a legate heading over at Cardassia Prime. This man, rather short for a Cardassian, leans very close into the view screen, and from what you can tell, he's been at this for a while, and he's more or less supporting of this idea. My faithful ally of the Federation, we may move our fleets as soon as possible. We'll definitely have to cover this with our counselors, but we will definitely have to support you. If we weren't there, our faithful allies will lose faith in us, and we wouldn't want that, shall we? We'll move our fleets as soon as we can.
It would be much appreciated, especially considering Eric's help in recent events. Any help from the Cardassian Union is always welcome.
The legate nods, more or less, in more of a bow, actually, instead of just a simple nod. But he looks back at the view screen, still kind of leaning in. Anything for the Federation. As we helped you, and you helped us to rebuild after our fateful war all those years ago. Consider it nothing but another favor for the chalkboard, as you would say.
Don't worry, we always plan to repay favors.
So now you have the Cardassian support, and they will be moving inward to protect the Bajor sector as soon as they can, once they get the map updated. But
Yeah.
yes, so now you have them and the Dominion on your side.
Alright, cool.
So there you
Cool.
go.
Now, here. I'm going to let Blade talk to the Tholians, because cruising, we need the Tholians' support. I've done what I can with the Dominion and the Cardassians. It looks like they're on board, especially the Dominion. But the Tholians are here on the front lines. They can help right now. Who do you need to contact? I can set up the comm link right now.
GM ruling, would I need to go through the Admiralty first, or would I be good to go straight to the Tholians?
It would, for this, the Admiralty actually would let you know that it might be best to contact the Klingons, since Nukara is deep into their space. So it's not the Admiralty's choice if we give Nukara away. You would have to try to convince the Klingons to give it up, since it is extremely deep into the Borth sector, and if the Tholians were to have a very strong, stable stake in Klingon territory, after this conflict, they can now strike anywhere in Klingon territory, more or less, a lot easier than it is straight from the assembly.
Good point.
Cruzan,
So yeah.
I'm hearing what our admiral's saying, but I think if you sweeten the pot for the Klingons, it might work. I mean, yeah, the Tholians might have a stake in their territory, but we let the Klingons know that if the Tholians make an aggressive action outside of that system alone, that we'll back them up 100%. I don't think they're going to mind it. Plus, we're giving up a Federation starship on that, well, a Terran Empire starship on the planet, not a Klingon warship. Might help with your negotiation tactics.
Hi, Captain. I think I have a plan for these guys.
I'll let you get to it. I'm going to
Suppose-
check on my starship.
Very
We'll
well.
cover the starship in a little bit. We'll take care of the Nukara stuff first.
I'm going to now attempt to contact the Klingons first.
Okay. So, are you going to try to contact Klingon Defense Force, or are you going to go straight to the Chancellor's office?
I'm going to attempt to contact the Chancellor's office to deal with the Nukara deal.
Okay, so luckily enough, instead of being sent to some aid or a random office somewhere on Kronos, the Chancellor himself answers the call, realizing that it's you answering. Admiral Cruzan, you ungrateful Fatak, I know your reputation anywhere.
Aye, Chancellor, it has been too long. Though I wish I was contacting you under better circumstances. Though, perhaps, we shall have to share a glass of blood wine once this is all over, and catch up.
So why do you call? I have a war to win here.
That is actually why I'm calling you, sir. I have a proposal to make, one that would be in both of our interest in the long run. As you know, they've been attacking the Tholians at Nukara, and it is a very heavily contested world. You know they seek the mirror ship that is buried beneath the surface of the planet. It is using long outdated technology by both of our standards. We need all the allies and help we can get if we are to win this war. As Kalis once said, it is not honorable to destroy an empire to win a war, and I want to make sure that both of our empires survive.
So you want
Since-
to just give a planet that's within Klingon claim straight to one of our former enemies? I don't believe this is going to be favor for you, Cruzan.
I have a plan for the Tholians.
Roll a d20.
It is a 16 this time.
Alright, continue with your monologue.
We're well aware that this would give the Tholians a foothold in Klingon territory. It is something I considered before placing this call. I propose we let them have the planet, for now, providing they meet certain stipulations. If they attempt to attack anywhere in Klingon territory, they will meet the full might of the Federation and the Klingon Empire both. And in addition for you guys, should we manage, and my people manage to reverse engineer some of this extragalactic technology, we will share with you everything that we have, both offensively and defensively. So you will have an edge against the Tholians, should they decide to double-cross us.
A bold plan, to be sure, Cruzan. But what do you think if we would use such technology against you once you give it to us? Why don't we know if you will use that new technology against us to begin with? You could take Nukara straight from the Tholians with or without our help. What makes you think we will join you?
Why would we risk such people over such an outdated ship? There is no honor in stabbing an enemy or stabbing a friend in the back in such a way.
Spoken like a true member of Starfleet. I will have to discuss this with the council, but I do believe we can agree to let Nukara remain in Tholian hands for now.
Thank you, Chancellor. As always, it is a pleasure.
So, with that, you now have the approval of the Chancellor to more or less give Nukara to the Tholians. The Tholians are still currently fighting this unknown enemy, and it's fighting almost twice as heavy of a group that fought Cerberus 37. They still seem to be holding their own. From what long-range sensors can tell, the Tholians are currently using interphasic rifts between Nukara to the Tholian assembly to bring in reinforcements, but they can only bring so many at a time. So whenever you're ready to call them, I'll let you do it.
It seems that our Captain Torrance has returned. Alright. I'm now going to contact the Tholians.
Alright. So, you send out the hail to the flagship at Nukara, and a strong whining screech comes over the comms. It takes a moment, but from what you can tell, the Tholians have answered your call. Translators are being rough for the moment as communications are slowly dipping in and out as combat is still ensuing. But the Tholian admiral leader, whatever their rank is demanding why you've called.
Admiral, we've been keeping an eye on the battle, and we know that you're facing a group much larger than we did. We have a proposal to make that would be in the best interest of both of our peoples.
Explain.
As you know, these verminous people oppose everyone. They have attacked us without provocation, they have attacked you without provocation. We know that you can only bring in so many reinforcements at a time. We propose to leave Nukara to you. The ship you seek will be yours. Anything on the surface of the planet is yours to do with whatever you see fit. In exchange, you help us to hold the surrounding areas, and we will beat back these verminous scum out of your territory and out of ours.
Alright, I would like you to roll another d20.
Please be a good roll. Please be a good roll.
Please. Okay, I was not expecting that. That is probably the only 20 I'm going to
Oh
get
wow,
this time.
okay. 1 second. That makes me have to roll. Hold on. Alright, reaction.
Okay.
Okay. The Tholian, through the view screen, could, from his visual, what you can guess is that it's, he was perplexed, from what you can tell by the visual. But, the Tholian nods, more or less. Biological Cruzan. These terms are acceptable. The Assembly will join the Alliance for now.
Thank you, Admiral. We will be in contact, and we will try to get reinforcements your way very soon.
And with that, the transmission cuts on its end. No, it's not sure if it was due to enemy fire or if the Tholian actually just flicked the communications off. But you have you gave the Tholians Nukara, and they've accepted the terms of joining in. So there you go.
Cruzan, you sly devil. I didn't think the Tholians would jump for that idea as quickly as they did.
It's kind of as you humans say, a Hail Mary on my part as well.
Well, damn it if you didn't get it into the end zone.
Well, one planet. We trade a immediate threat now for a potential threat down the road, and it's not like we're giving them anything that they may or may not already have a technological equivalent to.
Entirely true. Plus, they've had it for a while now. They've probably already studied a few of the systems on that ship anyway, but it's outdated. I mean, our Block 2 Odyssey classes that we use are significantly more advanced than what that Block 1 is, and mine could annihilate that one once it's finally finished in space dock anyway. I'm not giving up a whole lot. Though, what did you promise the Klingons to get them on board?
Well, Captain, it just so happens that one, we owe the Chancellor a barrel of blood wine. Number two, we share the technology that we gain with them. That way, if the Tholians do present a threat, they will have sufficient means and an edge to deal with them, with or without our help. And at the very least, should the Tholians decide to stab a friend in the back, they will face the combined might of both of our peoples, using dark matter weaponry, and I doubt that's something the Tholians will want to attempt.
True. Plus it brings balance between the two of the major powers in the quadrant. Though we are going to have to bring the Romulans into this. We do have a working peace treaty with them as well at this point. So the Romulan Republic will have to also study it to keep the balance going. Last thing we need is another incident going through the quadrant again, like in the 2390s.
Indeed, sir. Indeed.
Let's at least get on the horn with the Klingon commander since they're on board with this plan. We need to move them up as much as it's probably going to pain them. Klingons are the closest ones that can help the Tholians right now if we're going to send them reinforcements. We need to send a couple at least close by to help back them up for support, or if they just want a thirst for battle, the Klingons will be there. Or we can bring some Romulan and Federation reserves in closer to be within striking distance for defense.
And almost on cue, as you say, reserves, get a call. The ops from the starbase that you're on informed you that a Federation fleet of 100 ships has dropped in the system, and they're notifying that your reinforcements have arrived.
Thank the Maker. Alright.
Coming from Starbase Lunsford. This fleet of 100 ships, classes vary. They also are carrying 50 ablative generators, 50 Corbomite generators, 200 microorganism torpedoes, and another 100 tricobalts, all ready to be deployed on any of the vessels that you have.
Excellent. That's the kind of report I like to hear. I'm going to divert a couple of them to Deep Space 13, since I'm going to have to transwarp beam back over there, so they can replenish tricobalt weaponry on the fleets there, along with my ship. And we'll probably split them up between the two of them, since the fleet's been split up. I believe, Cruzan, you have the list of starships that are available as far as upgrades for either the Corbomite reflectors or the ablative shells?
Actually kind of lost that file.
I saved that. So, to
Okay,
answer
good.
that question, from the ships that survived, you have about 40 vessels that could use both the ablative and the Corbomite, while only 20 could use the ablative, and another 10 could only use the Corbomite. So you have about 70 ships that can service these things together.
Let's get those deployed. All the serviceable ships, since we've got the major and crippled ships under repair, their focus is not getting them combat ready, their focus is getting them operational again. We need to get them back into the fight. Let's make a call to that minor Federation and Klingon fleets that are just cardinal direction north above Drozana. Those are small fleets. If they stay where they're at now, considering Drozana has fallen, they're not going to fare much better. Let's move them into Deep Space K7. Maybe a couple of their ships on both sides can have installation of these new defensive techs.
Hi, Captain. I like that plan. In the meantime, we need to keep as many of these extragalactic vermin bottled up as we can. We will need to move in some fleets to make sure our lines hold. I don't want them getting any closer to Arcanus than they already are.
I'd like to see if the Romulans be willing to send 2 to 3 fleets our way. They've got several outlying fleets that have moved forward for new Romulus space defense. They've got a couple they could move forward to help with us on this endeavor, and we could even help further bolster their defenses if we're able to modify some of this tech for them. I mean, hell, if you're up for it, Cruzan, we can install a few microorganism torpedoes on their ships. We'll be able to reverse engineer them over time, and we'll let that be your call. But it would help give them an edge as well against these invaders, since for some reason those torpedoes are one of the best things we've got right now.
My Captain, it breaks down their armor and their ship at the molecular level. It was seen as a doomsday weapon type of torpedo that my people hoped we would never have to deploy. But unfortunately, desperate times call for desperate measures.
Indeed.
I have no problems installing these torpedoes on their ships. We need all ships to be as combat capable as possible. Even if they do reverse engineer them, my people still have the master plans, and it won't do them any good to deploy them against us. And even then, it would just be mutually assured destruction if they tried.
That's something we're trying to avoid at this point. Even if we are able to completely annihilate this enemy, we're still going to be weakened. The last thing we need is another quadrant war between the major powers, especially with all the peace that we've been able to assure. Let's see if we can get the fleet that is near the Zarantine sector border and the Romulan fleet that is near Starbase 220. Let's get them to warp into Deep Space K7. The most outlying fleet's not really dealing with Romulan space defense, so that we'd be able to help improve their defenses, and they can help further the war effort.
Indeed.
Game Master, have we heard anything from the Romulan Star Empire as of late? We know that they've got 3 fleets up there, one of which is being monitored by one of our Federation fleets from Starbase 517. But what's the Romulan Star Empire up to? Are they just sitting back and watching how things unfold? Or are they willing to help us out?
From what the fleet that moved from Starbase 517 has met with one of the other Romulan fleets has informed, the Imperials there are leery about an extragalactic invasion and feel like they can assist, but they feel like that the Romulan Republic will distrust them to the point where they might shoot the Imperials down immediately. So if they are to be deployed, they request to not be in a group where the Republic is also in that group.
Ah.
That may be fixed as the war goes on, but that is their current worry because they are not true Republic, but they still hold to the Imperial aligned thought process. So,
Well,
that is their current worry.
for now, if that's the case. If they're willing to move 1 fleet, I know they only have 3 right now. They're willing to move 1 in the direction of Terra Nova. We have 3 Federation fleets there. They would be basically helping out with the defense in the Beta Quadrant moving towards DS9, since the enemies moved back and forth between the Butreca Nebula and Minas Corva. They would not be dealing with the Romulan Republic. Instead, they'd be dealing with potentially some Dominion reinforcements and the Breen, if the Breen ever decides to move. They wouldn't have to really. They wouldn't really have to worry about the Breen or maybe the Zenkethi. But if their big concern is the Romulan Republic, we can move them in the opposite direction while they can still help.
They're actually allowing the Romulan Star Empire is actually allowing to move all 3 fleets as long as we keep that Federation fleet within Romulan space as protection and as insurance for the most part.
We can make that adjustment. We understand what they're worried about, so we can move their fleets out, and the fleet from Starbase 517 can stay there for defensive positioning. But I'd want to assure their government that double cross in this time of need.
Could you roll a 20 for me?
A D what?
D20.
Oh. Oh, that sucks. I got a 4.
It's actually not bad for you. Don't worry.
That's pretty bad.
No, it's a bad roll. Don't get me wrong. But the Romulans also rolled pretty bad. So
Okay, cool.
they understand backstabbing is more or less their stable nature at this point, and feel like that if they were to do it, we wouldn't know, and if they were to do it anyway, they don't have the resources to do it. Last time they did, they got curb stomped by the Iconians. I don't think you have much to worry.
Very good. So that fleet will stay there to help defend the Great Plume, Sarita, and all that for the Imperial Romulans. We'll move all of them towards Terra Nova to meet up with that Federation triple fleet right there, so they can be within striking distance of Minas Corva if our new enemy moves in that direction again. They'll be able to help with the defense of Minas Corva and Beta Z.
Captain, 3 more fleets. 3 more fleets moving in. It's a good thing. I've not seen this much cooperation since the Iconian War.
Well, we haven't faced something this dangerous, honestly, since the Iconians. It was one thing for some of the temporal enemies or the Herc for sheer numbers, but when it came to technology, I think the Iconians were the last great threat to the galaxy at large, and based on the weaponry I'm seeing here, this is about close to it.
Indeed.
One,
In the meantime, Captain, I want to see what we could salvage from those ships.
indeed.
Do we have any cloak-capable vessels that could sneak in really fast and perhaps pull away some dark matter generators and perhaps one or two of those dark matter cannons that may have survived as part of a Hulk?
Out of the current fleet makeup, you have the 125 Klingon vessels that could pull off such a thing, varying from anything between birds of prey all the way up to the heavy battle cruisers, as well as the 12 Romulan warbirds that are already ready to be thrown out back into the wolves. You have 10 Federation ships that can actually cloak. 5 of them are Phantoms. The other 5 are the Yamato class. My bad.
Captain, I am proposing we send 5 of each cloak-capable ship. 5 ships from each faction. That way, everybody knows there will be no shenanigans, no backstabbing. To retrieve as much technology as we can from these ships. It will be in all of our interest.
I tend to agree. In the spirit of cooperation, it's probably the best thing that we can do. Plus, it'll allow us to get the most on this flash grab as possible to get tech.
The more we understand, the better. For those ships, I'm going to send them in, and my standing order will be to salvage as much as they can. If they get spotted, or enemy ships show up, they're to retreat and contact us immediately.
Indeed. And if they're going in cloaked, I would advise on that communique, lower your power emissions as much as possible. We've had instances with cloak detection from the Dominion way back when. If their power levels are too high, they can be detected through cloak, and we're not entirely sure yet the cloak detection capability of this new enemy. Better safe than sorry.
Aye, Captain.
Okay, so to make sure I have the notes correct, you're sending 5 ships, 1 from each faction, and then an extra 2 probably from the Romulans and Klingons. So it would be 1 Federation, 2 Klingons, 2 Romulans. Am I getting that right, or is it just?
Well, I'm sending in 5 from
5
each faction, so it's 15
okay.
total.
So 15. Okay. My mistake. That makes sense.
Yeah, because that way we can send like maybe from the Federation it'd end up being like 2 Phantoms and 3 Yamatos. That way 2 of them are more for picket defense if need arises. The bigger ships that we send would be actually hauling all the stuff they can get. Probably the same for the Romulans and Klingons, just depending on their fleet makeup.
Yep, 15 of each.
5 of each.
15 total.
Yeah, 15
words.
total.
Thank you.
All right, so you're sending to Starbase 37, correct? Undercloak, and just to
Yep.
grab anything they can and book it if they get caught.
Yep.
All right. Like you to roll for me.
Both of us?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
The D20.
What are we rolling?
20, okay.
20s.
I have 12.
I have a 14.
All right. From what you can tell, order was sent. The 15 ships went out. They're doing the mission. It'll take quite a bit for them to get spotted, so at this moment you can tell that they haven't been spotted at all. Starbase 37 is a complete wreck. It has the giant hole in it listing as well as the graveyard of a couple hundred ships laying all about it. From what you can tell, there's also the giant hulk of the dreadnought ship, more or less listing closer to the station now, more than it was when you guys escaped. And no enemy vessels in the region, from what you can tell back at base, and what the Allied vessels are relaying to you. There is a number of wrecks that they could probably pick through. I will actually need you to roll again for them. Another d20.
Both of us?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Since this is both your plans and you're not there, I'm having you basically roll for the groups that you're sending.
Alright, I've got a 10.
16.
Okay. So through the various wrecks, you find multiple different sized technologies. A few dark matter generators that are easy to pick up, some in semi-working condition, some of them that have been blown straight out of their housing, a few of them just completely obliterated, so there's just shrapnel at this point, as well as a few various weapon pieces and hull fragments from said weapon pieces. We also have from the Dreadnought itself, more or less the main gun, the solar cannon, in still serviceable condition from what you can tell from the outside. It is too large to basically fit into a hangar bay, but you probably could tow it out if the fleet was able to cut it from the ship. So with that, you have quite a bit of a haul, but they're not able. But they need your orders to what to pick up.
Okay. And then what about the smaller dark matter cannon that we blew off at the semi-start of the battle? Is that anywhere nearby?
That whole ship is off radar, where the wreckage would be and where the ship is, or the ship was. Seems to almost be non-existent. You have no idea where the wreckage could have even gone. It's not even... more or less the wreckage from all the other ships, you can tell where the debris and the various scattered materials could be from each ship. Where that ship would be and any material that fell off of it, gone. No idea where it went.
I would recommend to the fleet, I know they're doing scans, I want a fully detailed scan of the cannon and the Dreadnought in that area. We need to see how integrated that cannon is. It won't do us any favors if we cut the cannon off, per se, but it's so integrated in their systems that it won't work at all for testing later on.
Indeed.
Okay. You may continue with that scan. Actually, I'll give this one too because that one's actually not that bad of a scan. From what you can tell, the cannon itself is a external mount, more or less just its own generator and weapon system altogether, and it's just strapped to the bottom of the Dreadnought. You could cut it away pretty easily if you could just get past some of the larger armor points. That's about it. And since you're not being shot at, or the 15 ships aren't being shot at, it should be fairly simple.
What do you think, Cruzan? Do you think a couple of them should decloak and start cutting away at the armor?
Let's have some of the larger ships do that, Captain. I also want at least 3 of those serviceable dark matter generators.
Indeed, your people could do a lot of things studying that tech. I'll leave the surgery to your adept hands. You know how to tell them how to take that thing off a little bit better than me.
Right.
Very well.
You have at least, let me do another roll real quick here. Have actually 5 generators recovered. Offline, of course, since if it was active, it would still be connected to a ship. And another 4 that were more or less heavily damaged, but are still able to be analyzed. So you have quite a bit of a haul for the dark matter generators themselves. They can be fit on any of the larger ships. No worries about that.
Yep. So, grab some of the generators, and then we'll have a few of the larger ships try to excavate that cannon.
Okay. Would you both like to roll to see how the team do, or do you just want to focus on one roll?
We'll focus on one roll. Since I'm giving the lead to Cruzan, it would be primarily his expertise and leadership on that one.
Alright, Blade, give me a roll. D20.
14.
Takes a little bit. The ships decloak and start cutting away at the armor. The armor pieces kind of just list off and reveals the rest of the cannon. The cannon itself seems to be hooked on by a large arm that just peels out from the bottom of the ship and connects by wires, but looks to be easily able to be pulled out, just cutting the arm off and cutting the wires, and let it be tractored out. But I would also like to both of you give me a roll, although you can say, yeah, just both give me a roll.
Alright, well, I'm giving you a 4.
I'm giving you a 17.
Okay. Almost immediately as the armor is cut off and the giant cannon pulls off, there's some subspace disturbances among the debris field. Your ships could easily detect it. No idea what the disturbances are, but there is something moving out there.
All of our starships are accounted for at this point, Cruzan. Could we be dealing with possible cloak technology from this enemy?
I don't know. But we must get back at least what we have. So, GM question. How many ships would it take to actually tow that giant cannon?
At least 5 of larger vessels.
Ooh.
Yeah.
It is huge.
Giggity. But, alright.
Right. With that 17 for a sensor roll, their smaller vessels actually see multiple projectiles seeming to be out of phase and then appearing almost on top of them. Hitting the shields, your ships are fine and most of them dodged anyway. But there seems to be something firing out of subspace. Firing torpedoes out of subspace at you guys. Or at the 15 ships.
I don't like this, Captain.
I don't either. It almost sounds like they have trajector technology that we've seen in the Delta Quadrant, where they can fire these and they can slip through subspace and appear at random. I don't know about you, but considering how much tech we've been able to salvage at this point, do we really need the cannon? Or do we need to know what we have? Because there is a chance that trying to get this cannon back, we could lose a good chunk of this recon fleet.
It's a fair point. At the very least, we need to get one of the dark matter generators back. I would like to... Let's see what they do whenever we try to track this cannon.
I'll send instructions to the fleet. Beam a tricobalt torpedo onto the cannon. If we can't get it back to us, we detonate it and blow up the cannon.
Great plan, sir.
Right. You have the 5 ships tractoring the ship out. You have the tricobalt on it, just in case. Another volley of torpedoes are emanating out of subspace, targeting the larger ships towing the cannon. Roll for dodge for me. Just another d20. We'll just do a blanket roll.
I've got a 3.
One of us or both of us?
Blade, you better roll.
Both of you.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So, you know how I said that that last 20 was probably going to be the last one that I got?
Okay, so your ships are able to dodge. A few of the smaller ones are taking some hits, but are able to shoot down the larger the torpedoes that are heading for the larger ships. And
Where was this crap last game when I was rolling for my phaser?
also along with that 20, the squadron flagship, whoever's leading this 15-man fleet, also detects a prominent neutrino subspace, not neutrino, Tetryon surge out deep in the debris field. From what you can tell back at base, looking through their sensors actively going, there is a small subspace portal and what looks to be a periscope popping out of it.
They're tracking us. They're trying to see what we're going to do.
User was moved to your channel.
And Captain Spoon has finally decided
Welcome.
to join us.
But yes, you have the sights of a subspace periscope, as well as more torpedoes on the way. You have the giant cannon in tow, and you just have to move out of the debris field to get out. What you can tell is that they are definitely trying to stop you, but at this point, it seems since they've been spotted, their resistance is actually going to be very underwhelming.
Indeed. Let's see, since we got torpedoes on the way, let's see if a few of these smaller vessels can pick them off, giving the larger vessels a chance to tow this thing out of the debris field and go to war.
Okay, let's see some attack rolls here. D20s for me, guys.
How many?
Let's see. Since there's the 5 currently towing, let's go with 4.
Alright, I roll 2 and Blade rolls 2?
Sure.
Alright.
Okay. That fell off the
They
desk.
roll that.
I've got a 20 and I've got a 2.
20 and a 2,
Okay, so my first one sucks
which
butt.
is
It's an 8.
Okay. Better than a 2.
Now let's roll the second one. Yeah, it was better than
Saying.
2. Not
Got a
much,
freaking
but... And a 3.
So 2, 3,
God.
8 you said, and a 20?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. The smaller vessels are actually having a tougher time catching up to these torpedoes. It seems to be further into subspace before they come back into real space to hit their target. A few of the smaller vessels are actually able to get close enough to shoot down the torpedoes almost immediately as they're on point blank with the larger vessels. The larger vessels are slightly taking some glancing hits from the secondary explosion, but from what you can tell, the torpedoes didn't do much of a mark on the larger ships. You just have a lot of small ships that are bad at shooting. Periscope, as you can still see it on active scans, dips back into the subspace portal. And now you've lost all subspace signatures in the vicinity.
Well, it looks like they've given up for now. Maybe they don't think that losing one of these cannons is such a big deal. I mean, they do have multiple of these dreadnoughts.
They probably don't think we can re-engineer the tech, even if we do capture it.
Now, I don't think they fully understand that you guys know dark matter tech. definitely helps us. Paired with the Starfleet Corps of Engineers, I'm confident we can reverse engineer this. Let's get that fleet back.
Absolutely. This is Admiral Cruzan. All ships, grab what you can and jump to warp. There's no sense in risking a fight there.
And with no time at all, the 15 ships with a large cannon and multiple unknown technologies get back to K7 and Deep Space 13 with ease. The subspace signature seemed to have vanished in the debris field, but it is unknown what exactly it was, except that it was firing torpedoes at you. So now that it's back at base, everyone can, start taking a little bit of the technology here and there. Just given up by preliminaries of the dark matter generators, they seem to have collected this dark matter that's been hidden out there for almost since before the beginning of the Milky Way. That old, is how this dark matter was. The dark matter that they formed is older than the Milky Way, at least by what preliminary scans show. I mean, that's a scary thought.
Means they've been around a lot longer than we anticipated. That's not a good thing.
No, it's not.
Cruzan, I'm gonna let your people tear apart that cannon and all the tech. Just, if you need any engineers, pull them.
Hi, Captain.
I'm gonna try and get a quick update on my starship and see if I can get that call in to Starfleet Intelligence about my idea.
Okay, so the ships. The Wolf Knight is actually fully repaired with a little bit of updates to its armor with the gift from Spoon.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Spoon.
Now we have the Vengeance armor on it, as well as the Wolf Knight's able to add the secondary blade of shell to it. Besides that, the hull is fully repaired, engines no issues, things like that. During this time, you have another 15 Federation ships ready to be serviced, another 20 Klingon ships, and 3 more Romulan vessels. So that adds up to 95 Romulan vessels, 95 Federation vessels, not counting the reinforcements that just showed up. 145 Klingon ships ready to be sent back to the front lines, and all 15 ships of the Romulans ready for defense. You'll have another 35. You still have another 195 vessels heavily damaged, and they will take a lot longer to repair. So.
I'm gonna go ahead and move. Yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and move my ship out of the shipyard so we can get one of those heavily damaged ships in. I'm grateful the ablative armor is on my ship. Because of how it works with the starship, I might not use it that much. It's going to interfere with my cannon, and now that it's fixed, I actually want to be able to use my heavy cannon.
Cool.
But I need to get this call into Starfleet Intelligence. So I'd like to open a comm line to however high up I can get to Starfleet Intelligence for my plan.
Alright. The Starfleet Intelligence person on K7 sends you actually all the way almost up the chain to ESD itself. It's not to the director of Starfleet Intelligence, but it is to the a few ladder steps down from the director of Starfleet Intelligence. So you're able to get pretty high up there, and the call goes through. A human, kind of beardy, looks like he might have not slept for a few days, leans back in a chair. Starfleet Intelligence consultant's office. Who is this? What's up?
This is Captain Chris Torrance. I'm on the front lines near Deep Space 13. We're dealing with this extragalactic enemy, and I finally got my Odyssey Block 3 repaired. But I need to ask Starfleet intelligence help. I need to have a certain technology modified and retrofitted just for my ship for some of the missions we're about to be running against this enemy.
Did you fill out the requisition form?
Filled out the requisition forms and sent them into intelligence, tactical, and command itself. I just haven't heard a response yet, and I'm partially concerned it's because of what technology I'm wanting to get my hands on.
Okay, 1 second. You see him lean forward back at the computer station and type in a few commands here and there, pulling up the form and trying to figure out what you ordered. So, to confirm what you requested, what did you request?
A cloaking device based on the Vengeance technology that needs to be retrofitted to work specifically with my starship.
Oh. Remember, roll a d20 for me.
Alright. 17, my highest roll yet. Yay.
The man stared at the form for a moment, then back at Captain Torrance. I will need a moment. I'm going to send you up to the Deputy Director. Stand by. And he closes the channel. Moments later, the channel opens again with a Bajoran female. The 4 pips and the line underneath marks on her neck, on her collar. She's also sitting back in her chair, and she's looking over the form, as you can see it being reflected on the back panel. Cloaking device, you say?
Yes, Admiral.
This is bizarre for such an experimental ship to get another heavily top secret item. What do you plan on using it for besides, as what you tactical captains like to say, oh, fight the battle, oh, yay.
Quite honestly, Admiral, my idea, as things go on, we do have quite a few Federation starships that have them. I want to be able to use it the same way they would in this scenario, not just for surprise hit and run attacks that we can do in conjunction with the Romulans and the Klingons. It will give me an edge when it comes to various types of espionage or intelligence gathering on our enemies. We're not entirely sure of their cloaking technology detection grids, though it seems so far from rough initial reports, they can't detect any ship under cloak. So it'll give my starship an edge on the front lines, not just for an attack posture, but also I can use it to help gather intelligence without risking my ship further.
The Bajoran intelligence officer sighs and looks away, looks back. Is your end of the communication secure?
1 second, Admiral. And I type in a code. Here now, Admiral.
This doesn't go between anyone else, just you and the intelligence office. We only have 3 other vessels that have this current technology. We have a 4th one currently in the works. You could remove that one's cloaking device and gift it to you, but I don't believe you have what it takes to take the cloaking device.
How so, Admiral?
These vessels are heavily top secret, as well as all the technology that goes on them. Currently, there are those 3 vessels on the front line with you, and from what my reports say, one of them is parked right next to yours.
Yes, the Lucifer. One of the vessels that helped me get back from the front lines after the battle.
Yes, yes, the Lucifer. Aptly named. But I'd like to point out that not only do we have to go through a few other more discreet channels to get you the this cloaking device, but you cannot discuss this with anyone. If this gets out, we may have more than just a simple arms race with dark matter technology and who knows what else.
Well, what kind of cloaking device are we talking about then, Admiral? Because we have quite a few vessels that just have a standard cloak that we were able to figure out from when the USS Defiant had the Romulan cloak in the 2370s.
Classified.
Kind of figured that was headed my way. Well, with this, if we were to get the one from the 4th vessel that you speak of, how long would it take to retrofit it to work 100% with my vessel?
Given the current experimental technologies on your vessel, and looking at what we have for the cloaking device, at least another week, since it's still in its modular stage of its construction, we could just retrofit it to match for Odyssey instead of our classified vessels.
That would work for me, Admiral. We're currently stationed here trying to get fleet movements together to fight this enemy. I've got the time.
We'll have it down there by the beginning of next week. We'll retrofit it on the way there.
Thank you, Admiral.
But you owe us a favor.
Understood, Admiral.
And do remember, Starfleet Intelligence isn't going to call in on this favor. You've gotten some eyes on you now, for just requesting this cloaking device. Watch your back and the line cuts.
Oh, I don't like the sound of that. Cruzan, I think you know what that means.
I believe so.
I've never liked dealing with Section 31, but if I'm correct in my deduction of that conversation, that's the level of tech that we're about to get with, so Lord knows what this cloaking device can do in addition to just hide my ship. My first thoughts go back to the Pegasus, if you remember those reports coming from Captain Picard.
I have a feeling, sir, that the less we know at the moment, the better.
True. At least I have my cloak. Just hoping they give me a detailed report, at least for my eyes only. I know what this thing can really do.
Well, sir, that is one bit of tech down. Now I must see what my people can do with this dark matter stuff.
If need be, some of your people and scientists and engineers along with ours can back off to the next nearest starbase, which is Lunsford, and do detailed studies. That way they're not on the next line of defense, which is right where we're sitting. We don't need our scientists under that much pressure. They need to be clear-headed as they're going over this tech.
Indeed, we're going to move the dark matter technology back, and we're also going to have an open line to my people's homeworld, and we will develop it in conjunction. Since I dare say that my people have much more experience with these matters than the Federation.
That would be the understatement of the day.
There we go. So, I guess now I'm going to open a channel to the homeworld. Let them know what we have.
One moment, I just need to get notes written out.
Yep.
Which, outside of character, we are going to have to probably wrap this up soon. We're going on, what, an hour and a half?
That is a good point.
Coming up on that. Say after this little transmission, we can
Yeah.
wrap it up.
Sounds good. Alright.
And I'm going to have, before we do this, I'm going to move my ship back to K7 to regroup with Cruzan. And we're going to have Spoon take over the fleet command of this fleet at Deep Space 13. So he'll be in command of all the starships that are currently at Deep Space 13 for the Allies.
That sounds like fun. Alright.
This sound like fun.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, so Cruzan, you're contacting your homeworld.
Yep.
Alright, so it takes a few moments as there's currently various transmissions trying to go in and out for intelligence and very strategic positions, but the call finally gets through after a few minutes. A similarly blue-skinned, white-haired alien appears on the viewer. Ah! Esteemed Cruzan of Starfleet. Nice of you to call home.
It's been a while, but this war has kept me busy. But we have some goodies for you guys to analyze. I know you've been wanting to get your hands on this dark matter stuff for a while, especially since the initial reports came in. Well, you're about to get that chance.
Oh boy! Finally, something for us to finally get our teeth sinked into.
What would you do, sir, if I told you that we have you some generators, specifically 3 dark matter generators and their dark matter solar cannon to work with and reverse engineer?
I believe the Ministry of Scientific Intelligence will almost crop their pants, as you would say. But no, this would be a fine addition for our scientists to go through and try to figure out how to make it work.
Great. We need this, all of this, and as quickly as you can. I want to start turning their own weapons back against them, or at least reverse engineering some defenses for this. Our people had theorized before that we could perhaps weaponize dark matter and use it for energy sources. Well, now we see it realized.
The Ministry has been prepared for this moment for almost since you guys told us that they had dark matter generators. We'll be ready for when they arrive. How big are these? Is this solar cannon that you've aptly named?
Well, it took us 5 dreadnought-sized ships just to move the dang thing.
Yeesh. Alright, we'll prepare one of the valleys just to hold this thing.
Oh, I would advise that. Maybe even a little extra. But you're going to have your hands full. We managed to pick through quite a bit of stuff, including some unknown techs we have yet to deal with. But I want to make sure that we are ready, as are our Federation allies.
So there you go. Now you have, they will be prepared for all the various technologies being sent their way. The Romulans and Klingons are actually going to send their own envoys and engineers to assist with their own technologies at Cruzan's home planet. I forgot the name of it. I do apologize.
He's an Ojirian.
There you go. I'll have you spell it later. But no. But there you go. Now you have the dark matter technologies, the solar cannon, which excitingly that you guys collected, and various fleet movements now in the works. Exciting, huh?
Mm-hmm. But yeah, definitely a good game this time around. We've officially hit our hour and a half mark, so we're gonna have to call it here for today. But we got quite a bit of stuff done. Got the fleet movements going. This is not necessarily as action-packed as last time, but we'll see what's gonna happen from here, I guess.
If you're looking for action pack, don't worry. There may be something next week.
Damn it.
Oh, he's got something up his sleeve, which I kind of figured. But anyways, folks, like I say, we hope you've enjoyed this as much as we enjoy getting into this kind of stuff. I know we went a little bit longer, but that's just the way RP go. You just kind of get into character and you lose track of time a little bit.
Quite a bit.
But anyways, folks, join us next time and see what's going to happen. How's the technology going to be adapted? Are the Tholians going to live up to their word? What else is going to be happening next week? And we'll get to see just maybe what we can come up with. What will our intrepid heroes have happen next time? Tune in next week on Dragon Ball Z. Oh wait, no, wrong franchise. I had to.
Definitely.
But anyways, folks, like I say, that's what we've got for this week for our RP event. Thank you as always, Artie, for being a very great GM for this event. And also to our other intrepid heroes, Captain Torrance and Captain Freedom. But anyways, folks, like I say, we hope you've enjoyed this. Feel free to join us at any point if you want. Maybe if you just want to pop in for one quick little mission. Maybe you're a mercenary that's just got a little bit of information you want to hand to us. Or maybe you want to join us for a battle and then dip out. Or maybe you want to join us on a more long-term thing for this event. That's perfectly fine, too. But, like I say, we hope you guys have enjoyed it. And once more, we'll see what we get into next week. But for now, folks, this is the Pilot Review Show, reminding you to have your tribbles spayed or neutered. Goodbye, everybody.
See ya.
Yeah.